This wasn't supposed to happen. Not to him, not like this. When 50 Cent stepped forward to tease a new segment from his upcoming documentary, everything seemed calculated, controlled, strategic. He wasn't just sharing content. He was setting the tone, shaping the narrative, positioning himself as the one revealing hidden truths. For him, this wasn't new. It was part of a pattern he had mastered over the years. But what happened next flipped everything. Because just hours after that clip surfaced, something else began circulating quietly at first. It didn't arrive with headlines or official confirmation. It came in fragments. Whispers passed between insiders. Private messages exchanged in group chats. Then, eventually, a clip. Short, chaotic, difficult to fully understand at first glance. And suddenly, the conversation changed. It wasn't about a documentary anymore. It was about something far more serious, an alleged attack. According to early reports, 50 Cent was reportedly involved in a disturbing incident that insiders are now describing as targeted. Not random, not coincidental, targeted. And what made the situation even more unsettling was the timing. The footage he had just leaked was already creating tension. The documentary segment, though brief, was rumored to contain references to names, connections, and moments that certain individuals would rather keep hidden. It hinted at relationships and events that were never meant to be revisited publicly. People with influence, people with power, people who don't respond well to exposure. So when that clip dropped, it didn't just go viral, it triggered something immediate, something aggressive. Before anyone could fully process the impact of the leak, the situation escalated. Reports began to surface suggesting that 50 Cent had been approached, confronted, and that the interaction quickly turned physical. Now the internet is asking one question. Was this a coincidence? Or was this retaliation? Because some insiders are now suggesting that what happened may not have been about robbery at all. They claim it could have been a message, a warning. And if that's true, then this story isn't just shocking. It's something much darker. To understand why this situation feels so intense, you have to look at the bigger picture. Because if you followed 50 Cent over the years, you already know one thing. He doesn't just create content, he exposes. Again and again, he has built a reputation around pushing boundaries, calling people out, revealing uncomfortable truths, blurring the line between entertainment and real-life conflict. Whether through music, interviews, or television, he has consistently placed himself at the center of controversy and control. From the outside, it looks like fearlessness. But behind that image, there has always been tension, sometimes quiet, sometimes loud, and sometimes dangerously close to boiling over. Because when you repeatedly bring hidden issues into the spotlight, eventually, someone takes it personally. And that's where everything begins to connect. Over the past few months, there had already been quiet speculation that 50 Cent was working on something different. Not just another show or series, but a documentary. One that would go deeper than anything he had done before. Insiders described it as layered, revealing, and potentially disruptive. A project that would touch on behind-the-scenes dynamics, industry politics, unresolved conflicts, and moments that were never meant to be public. At first, most people didn't take the rumors seriously. Stories like that circulate all the time. But then the tone changed. 50 Cent started teasing it subtly at first. Cryptic posts, old clips resurfaced with captions that felt intentional. Messages like, "They thought this was over, it's not," or "Truth always comes out." Fans began noticing the pattern. Something was coming. And whatever it wasn't going to be quiet. Then came the leak. And that's when everything shifted. Instead of waiting for a structured rollout, instead of building anticipation through traditional promotion, a snippet appeared without warning. No announcement, no context, just a clip. According to those who saw it before it disappeared, it wasn't just promotional, it was provocative. The footage reportedly included references to past disputes, blurred visuals of private moments, and what many described as coded callouts. Nothing explicitly confirmed, no direct names, but enough to spark speculation, enough for people to start connecting dots. And once those dots started connecting, the tension escalated quickly. Because it wasn't just fans watching. People behind the scenes were paying attention too. And according to multiple sources, not everyone was happy. In fact, some were reportedly furious. This wasn't the first time 50 Cent had stirred controversy. He has a long history of public feuds, prolonged back-and-forth exchanges, subtle jabs, and moments that cross into deeply personal territory. Names have been dragged, situations exposed, reputations challenged. But this time felt different. Because this wasn't just a post or a comment. This was a full project, a piece of content that had the potential to reach millions and possibly reshape narratives that people believed were long buried. And in an industry where control over narrative is everything, that kind of move doesn't go unnoticed. Timing became the most suspicious detail. The leak appeared late, quietly, almost like it wasn't meant to stay online for long, and within hours it was gone, removed, deleted, wiped. But not before it spread. Not before people screen recorded it. Not before conversations started. And once those conversations began, they didn't stop. Forums lit up, group chats exploded, speculation spread rapidly. People debated what the clip meant, who it was referencing, and why it had been released in that way. Some called it strategic. Others called it reckless. But a few insiders suggested something more concerning, that it was provoking a reaction. And that's where things took a darker turn. According to one source, there had already been warnings, not public ones, not official, quiet messages sent behind the scenes, the kind that don't leave a trace, the kind that don't need explanation. Messages that simply mean, stop. But if there's one thing people know about 50 Cent, it's this: he doesn't stop. And that may be what led to what happened next. Because just hours after that clip made its rounds, something changed. Communication slowed. Posts became less frequent. And then the reports began. At first they were scattered, easy to dismiss, unconfirmed. But then they started aligning. Same timeline. Same sequence of events. Same claim. That 50 Cent had been approached, and that the situation escalated quickly. The exact location remains unclear. Some say it happened outside a private venue. Others claim it was near a studio. A few suggest it occurred during a brief window where he was momentarily alone. But across every version of the story, one detail remains consistent. It wasn't random. And it wasn't just about theft. While some reports mention items being taken, there's a stronger emphasis on something else, something more personal. According to these accounts, the situation turned physical almost immediately, not gradual, not controlled, sudden. And that's what raises the biggest concern. Because if this was truly targeted, then it suggests intent. It suggests that what happened wasn't about opportunity, it was about sending a message. And if that message is connected to the leaked footage, then the implications are serious. Right now, nothing has been officially confirmed. No detailed statement has clarified exactly what happened, but the consistency of the reports and the timing has made it impossible for people to ignore. The internet continues to debate. Some believe it's all speculation, a situation being exaggerated by rumor and incomplete information. Others believe there's truth beneath the surface, something that hasn't fully come out yet. And that uncertainty is what's driving everything forward. Because when information is incomplete, speculation fills the gaps. Every new detail adds another layer. Every theory builds momentum. Every unanswered question keeps the story alive. And the biggest question remains: was this just an unfortunate coincidence? Or was it something more calculated, something tied directly to what was about to be revealed? Because if even part of this narrative is accurate, then what we're seeing isn't just controversy. It's escalation. It's the moment where storytelling, exposure, and real-world consequences begin to collide. And if that's the case, then this situation is far from over. In fact, it may only be the beginning. And by the time it was over, the message had already been sent. That's the part that has everyone on edge right now. Because ever since that moment, everything has gone quiet. Not just calm, unusually quiet. No immediate statement, no detailed explanation, no clear confirmation of what actually happened, just fragments, leaks, speculation. And the longer that silence continues, the more questions start to build. What really happened that night? And more importantly, what was in that documentary clip that could trigger something like this? Because if that leak truly set everything in motion, then whatever 50 Cent is working on might be far bigger and far more dangerous than anyone originally thought. And this is where the story starts to unravel. The moment more concrete details began to surface, everything shifted. What started as rumors and scattered reports turned into something much more serious. This wasn't just a vague claim anymore. It was being described as a full incident. And the more people dug into it, the more intense it became. According to multiple overlapping accounts, 50 Cent was approached late at night during what was supposed to be a routine, low-profile moment. No cameras, no large crowd, no obvious attention, just a brief window where he wasn't surrounded by his usual team. And that's when it happened. At first, witnesses describe it as nothing more than an interaction, unexpected but not immediately aggressive, a small group approaching, words exchanged, a conversation that seemed controlled, at least for a few seconds. But then something shifted. Fast. Within moments, what began as a confrontation reportedly turned physical. There was no clear build-up, no drawn-out argument, just a sudden escalation. Impact, movement, chaos. And that's when everything changed. Early rumors tried to frame it as a simple robbery, but that version didn't hold up for long. Because of what was taken, and more importantly, what wasn't. According to insiders, some personal items were reportedly missing after the incident, but they weren't the obvious targets, not expensive jewelry, not high-profile valuables, not the kind of things typically associated with a random street robbery. Instead, what was taken, or possibly searched for, appeared to be specific. Targeted, almost as if whoever was involved knew exactly what they were looking for. And that's the detail that shifted the entire narrative. Because once people started connecting that detail back to the documentary leak, the questions changed. This was no longer just, why did this happen? Now it became, what were they trying to get? And that's when the first major twist surfaced. According to one source close to the situation, the individuals involved weren't just focused on physical items. They were allegedly asking about something very specific. A drive. Not money. Not jewelry. A drive. Let that sink in. We don't know exactly what was on it. Nothing has been confirmed. But considering the timing, the documentary, the leaked clip, the growing speculation, it doesn't take much to connect the dots. If 50 Cent really has been working on a project exposing behind-the-scenes information, then a drive could mean one thing. Unreleased footage. Raw material. Unedited content. The kind of content that hasn't been filtered, softened, or controlled. And if that's what they were after, then this wasn't just an attack. It was a mission. Now here's where things become even more unsettling. Because according to another insider, the situation didn't end the way people expected. Yes, there was a confrontation. Yes, it turned physical. But what happened after that is where the story begins to split. Some accounts claim that 50 Cent managed to hold his ground long enough for the situation to break apart, that the confrontation ended as quickly as it began, with no clear resolution. Others suggest that something interrupted it, forcing everyone to disperse before things could escalate further. But the most disturbing version of events tells a different story. It claims that whoever was involved left without getting what they came for. And if that's true, then this situation isn't over. Not even close. Because if the goal was to retrieve something specific, something important, then walking away empty-handed doesn't end the story. It extends it. And that's what has people watching closely now. Because whatever this was, it doesn't feel finished. Now let's talk about what happened next. Because this is the moment when the internet completely lost control of the narrative. Within hours of the incident being reported, another leak surfaced. But this time, it wasn't related to the documentary. It was tied to the incident itself. A short clip. Grainy, distant, hard to fully make out but clear enough to raise alarms. The footage appears to show a chaotic scene in a dimly lit area, figures moving quickly, voices overlapping, tension in every movement. And then one moment. A single frame where someone who appears to resemble 50 Cent is seen stumbling backward. The clip cuts almost immediately after. But that moment was enough. Because now, people weren't just hearing about the incident. They were seeing something. And once that footage hit social media, everything escalated again. Users began analyzing it frame by frame, enhancing brightness, zooming in, slowing it down, trying to confirm what they were actually looking at. Was it real? Was it staged? Was it edited? The debates exploded instantly. But here's the problem. No one could fully confirm it. And no one could fully debunk it either. And that uncertainty made it even more powerful. Because uncertainty drives attention. And attention creates pressure. Now here's where the story takes another darker turn. While most people were focused on the leaked footage, a new detail began circulating, quietly at first, but quickly gaining traction. According to a source who claimed to have seen the original documentary clip before it was removed, there was a specific moment in that footage that hasn't been discussed enough. A moment that might explain everything. Something. Subtle, easy to overlook, but significant enough to trigger a reaction if the wrong people saw it. And if that claim is even partially true, then the entire situation shifts again. Because now, this isn't just about a leak. It's about what was inside that leak. What was shown, what was implied, and who might have been affected by it. Right now, we're still looking at fragments, partial footage, unconfirmed reports, second-hand accounts. But all of it points toward one possibility. That what happened wasn't random. It was connected. And if that connection holds, then this story is far from over. In fact, it may just be getting started. What makes this situation even more unsettling is how quickly it escalated from speculation into something that feels far more serious. At first, everything revolved around 50 Cent and his decision to tease a controversial documentary segment. That alone was enough to spark curiosity, debate, and tension. But as new details began to surface, unverified, fragmented, and often contradictory, the narrative shifted into something much darker. According to circulating claims, one of the most alarming elements tied to the leaked footage wasn't just what was shown, but what may have been heard. Some individuals who allegedly viewed the original clip before it was removed insist that In the background of a particular scene, there was a distorted voice. It wasn't clear, and it wasn't directly identifiable to the average listener. But to certain people, it reportedly sounded familiar enough to raise concern. If those claims hold even partial truth, the implications are significant, because this wouldn't just be about exposing general industry dynamics or revisiting past conflicts. It could involve individuals with real influence, people who would strongly oppose being connected to such material publicly. And once that possibility entered the conversation, everything changed. The stakes were no longer just about content or entertainment. They became about power, reputation, and control over information. Because if it's true, even partially, it suggests that what the public has seen so far is only a small fraction of the full project. And that raises a new set of questions. If a partial clip triggered this level of reaction, what happens when the full material is released? Will it provide clarity or create even more controversy? This uncertainty is what makes the situation so volatile. Every new detail doesn't resolve the story, it reshapes it. Analysts and commentators have become increasingly cautious when discussing what might happen next. In most public controversies, there's usually a moment when facts begin to stabilize, when official statements clarify the situation. That hasn't happened here. There is no confirmed narrative, no unified explanation, no authoritative voice providing closure. Instead, the story continues to evolve in real time, driven by speculation, interpretation, and fragmented information. And at the center of it all remains the silence of 50 Cent. That silence has become one of the most powerful elements of the entire situation. Because whether intentional or not, it sends a signal. To some, it suggests strategy, a decision to wait, observe, and possibly respond at the right moment. To others, it signals seriousness, that the situation may be more complex or sensitive than it appears. Either way, the absence of a response has not slowed the conversation. It has intensified it. As time passes, the reaction outside continues to build. What was once limited to niche discussions has now expanded into a global conversation. Across platforms, hashtags related to the incident are trending. Discussions are no longer confined to speculation. They've become debates. And those debates are sharply divided. On one side are supporters who question the narrative entirely. They argue that 50 Cent has always been a controversial figure, someone known for pushing boundaries and attracting attention. From their perspective, the timing of the alleged incident feels suspicious, too convenient, too unclear. They point to the lack of official statements as a major concern. Why are there no detailed reports? Why is information coming from leaks instead of verified sources? Why hasn't there been a clear explanation? To them, something doesn't add up. But on the other side, a very different interpretation has taken hold. Some believe the situation is exactly what it appears to be, or possibly even more serious. They argue that in industries where power, influence, and reputation matter deeply, exposing sensitive information can have real-world consequences. From this viewpoint, the silence isn't suspicious, it's significant. It suggests that the situation may involve more than just public perception. It may involve pressure, risk, and decisions being made behind the scenes. And just like that, the narrative splits into two completely opposing directions. One side sees exaggeration or memes, understanding. The other sees escalation and consequence. Neither side has definitive proof, but both sides are fully engaged. Social media has amplified this divide even further. Platforms are flooded with reactions, breakdowns, and theories. Hashtags continue to trend, each one representing a different angle of the story, questions about the incident, the documentary, and what might come next. Users are analyzing timelines, comparing clips, and attempting to reconstruct events with precision. Some are even trying to align specific moments, mapping when the leak occurred, when reactions began, and when the alleged incident took place. But despite all this effort, the core mystery remains unresolved. Because at the center of everything, beyond the clips, beyond the claims, beyond the debates, is a simple reality. No one knows the full story. And until that changes, the speculation will continue to grow. Because in situations like this, uncertainty doesn't slow things down. It fuels them. And right now, every new detail, whether confirmed or not, is adding to a narrative that is still unfolding, still shifting, and still far from complete. This wasn't supposed to unfold the way it did. Not for 50 Cent, and definitely not under circumstances this chaotic. What began as a calculated move, a teaser, a controlled leak, a glimpse into an upcoming documentary, quickly spiraled into something far more serious, something that no one could have predicted with certainty, but many are now trying to understand. At first, it looked like strategy. For years, 50 Cent has built a reputation around calculated risk. He doesn't just release content, he provokes conversation. He doesn't just tell stories, he reshapes narratives. From music to television, from social media to business ventures, his approach has always blurred the line between entertainment and reality. And because of that, when rumors began circulating about a new documentary project, most people assumed it would follow the same pattern: bold, controversial, but ultimately controlled. But this time, something felt different. Insiders had been hinting for months that the project wasn't just another production. It was something deeper. Allegedly, it involved behind-the-scenes moments, industry dynamics, and unresolved tensions that had never been fully explored in public. Still, without confirmation, those whispers remained just that, whispers. Until the leak. Without warning, a short clip reportedly surfaced online. No rollout plan, no official announcement, just a sudden drop. And according to those who claim to have seen it before it disappeared, the footage wasn't just promotional, it was provocative. It hinted at connections, referenced past conflicts, and included fragments that seemed to point toward individuals and situations that had long remained in the shadows. Nothing was fully clear, but it didn't need to be. Because once people started connecting the dots, the reaction was immediate. Fans weren't the only ones paying attention. People behind the scenes, those who might have recognized the implications, were watching too. And according to multiple unverified accounts, not everyone was pleased with what they saw. Then came the shift. The leak didn't stay online for long. It was reportedly taken down within hours, but by then it had already spread. Screen recordings, descriptions, reactions. Once something enters the digital space, it rarely disappears completely. And as conversations grew louder, the tension surrounding the situation seemed to rise just as quickly. And then something happened. At first, the reports were scattered, vague, easy to dismiss. But as more accounts began to surface, a pattern started forming. According to overlapping claims, 50 Cent was allegedly approached late at night during what was described as a low-profile moment. No major security presence, no large crowd, just a brief window where he wasn't surrounded by his usual environment. That's when the alleged confrontation took place. Witness descriptions, none officially confirmed, suggest that it began as an interaction. Not immediately aggressive, not loud, but something about it shifted quickly. Words were exchanged, the energy changed, and within seconds the situation reportedly escalated into something physical. Now here's where the narrative becomes even more complicated. Early rumors framed the incident as a robbery, but that version didn't hold for long. According to multiple sources, while some items were reportedly taken, they weren't the kind typically associated with random theft. Not high-value jewelry, not obvious targets. Instead, the focus appeared to be specific, targeted, and that detail changed everything. Because almost immediately, people began linking the incident back to the documentary leak. The timing was too close to ignore. Just hours earlier, sensitive content had surfaced. And now, an alleged confrontation involving the same individual at the center of thought. Content, coincidence, or connection? That question became the driving force behind the entire conversation. Then came another layer. According to one widely circulated claim, the individuals involved in the confrontation weren't just looking for physical valuables. They were allegedly asking about something specific, a drive, a storage device, something that could potentially hold unreleased material. Now, nothing about that claim has been officially verified. But if true, the implications are significant. Because if the documentary project really contains sensitive footage, raw, unedited, unfiltered, then a device like that wouldn't just be valuable, it would be critical. It could contain narratives that haven't been shaped yet, information that hasn't been controlled, stories that once released couldn't be taken back. And if someone wanted to prevent that, the stakes suddenly become much higher. But the uncertainty doesn't stop there. Because the aftermath of the alleged incident is just as unclear as the event itself. Some accounts suggest that 50 Cent managed to navigate the situation without losing control. Others claim the confrontation ended abruptly, possibly interrupted. And a more concerning version suggests that whatever the attackers were looking for, they didn't get it. If that last detail is accurate, it introduces an entirely new level of tension. Because it means the objective, whatever it was, remains unresolved. And unresolved situations rarely stay quiet. Meanwhile, the internet did what it always does. It exploded. Within hours, clips allegedly tied to the incident began circulating. Grainy footage, distant angles, partial moments. None of it clear enough to confirm anything definitively, but enough to fuel speculation. People began analyzing every frame, enhancing brightness, slowing down movements, trying to determine whether what they were seeing was real, staged, or something in between. No conclusion was reached. And that uncertainty only made the situation more intense. Then came the leaks. Not just footage, but messages, screenshots, claims of behind-the-scenes warnings. One message in particular spread rapidly across platforms. It allegedly read, "Tell him to stop before it gets worse." No sender, no recipient, no verification. But the timing, uncomfortable, because it aligned too closely with everything else. Around the same time, another claim surfaced, this one involving the original leaked documentary clip. According to individuals who said they viewed it before it was removed, there was a moment in the background featuring a distorted voice. Not clear, not identifiable to the general public, but recognizable, allegedly, to those within certain circles. If that claim holds any truth, it changes the entire narrative. Because now, this isn't just about general exposure. It's about specific exposure. And if the person behind that voice holds influence, real influence, then the urgency surrounding the situation begins to make more sense. But again, nothing has been confirmed. And that's the core of the issue. Because despite everything, every clip, every claim, every theory, there has been no official detailed statement addressing the situation, not from authorities, not from verified representatives, and most notably not from 50 Cent himself. And that silence, it's powerful, because silence in moments like this doesn't calm the narrative, it amplifies it. It creates space for interpretation, for speculation, for assumptions. Some see it as strategic. Others see it as caution. And some believe it suggests something far more serious happening behind the scenes. Legal considerations, ongoing investigations, or internal decisions that haven't been made public yet. At the same time, industry voices have started shifting the conversation. Less focus on the incident itself, more focus on the implications. What happens when sensitive content leaks before it's ready? What happens when storytelling intersects with real-world consequences? Where is the line between exposure and risk? These aren't simple questions, and they don't have simple answers. Because in today's digital landscape, information doesn't move slowly. It spreads instantly. And once it spreads, it evolves. It gets reshaped, reinterpreted, and recontextualized by millions of people in real time. That's exactly what's happening here. The story isn't fixed. It's fluid. It's still being written. Right now, there are multiple layers unfolding simultaneously. The alleged incident itself, still unclear, still unconfirmed in detail. The leaked documentary content, partially seen, mostly unknown. And the internal reactions, suggested through messages, claims, and even what appears to be a leaked memo referencing unforeseen escalation. That phrase alone has become a focal point, because it suggests acknowledgement, not confirmation, but recognition that something happened beyond expectation. And that raises the biggest question of all. Was the leak the trigger? Or was it just the tipping point of something that had already been building behind closed doors? Because if there were already conversations happening, warnings being issued, concerns being raised before anything went public, then what we're seeing now might not be the beginning of the story. It might be the result. And if that's true, then the most important details might still be hidden, still unreleased, still waiting. Which brings everything back to where we are now. No definitive answers. No confirmed timeline. No single version of events that everyone agrees on. Just fragments, and a growing sense that this situation is far from over. Because if there's one thing this entire sequence has made clear, it's this. Whatever happens next could change everything. A new leak. An official statement, a verified report, or something completely unexpected. Any one of those could shift the narrative instantly. And until that happens, the conversation will continue to evolve, theories will continue to grow, and the pressure surrounding this situation will only intensify. Because this isn't just about a moment anymore. It's about what that moment represents. Control, exposure, power, and the consequences that come with all three. So now the question isn't just what happened. It's what happens next. And whether the full story, whatever it may be, will ever truly come to light.